Part 51. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 501. Of course, the sword faction that was far away could not keep up with the second day's elixir sales. Guyao did return safely because of the late change, so he was happy to release 5 times the usual amount of elixir, and there were not only 5th grade and 4th grade pills, but also the appearance of Sanpin pill showed how sensational the scene was, and the store almost collapsed. The city owner was determined to have a good relationship with Guyao, so he sent a guard team early in the morning to help the store maintain order. Of course, he also sent someone to participate in the elixir bidding. When he found that there was a 3rd grade elixir, he was extremely grateful for his decision. Both Zhou Lang and Zhou Mintao's throats were hoarse. They had never encountered such a scene since their cultivation, but both of them were very excited. After they finally emptied the medicinal pills in their hands, the two of them breathed a sigh of relief. Zhou Lang said, "That is to say, the ancient alchemist doesn't care how many spirit stones there are. Otherwise, he will spend more time to publicize and hold a formal auction. Today, the spirit stones exchanged for these pills will have to be doubled." Many cultivators with real financial resources did not have time to rush to Yuanguang City. It was really cheap for Yuanguang City and the nearby cultivators and forces. Among those cultivators who asked for the price, they found several of their fellow students, and even the elders personally dispatched to follow up with them. The other cultivators blushed and had thick necks, and the majestic image in the past collapsed a lot in their minds. Zhou Mintao echoed, "No, the ancient alchemist is a truly noble alchemist compared to those in Lingzhou. Sooner or later, the ancient alchemist will compare all the alchemists in Lingzhou." The two were chatting while cleaning up the shop. When one person walked in, Zhou Mintao smiled when he saw him. It turned out to be Senior Wei. "Senior Wei is here again, and Alchemist Gu and the others are in the backyard." Wei Wei laughed, "Now you finally know the identity of the ancient alchemist? Haha, I'll go to the back first." This is not the first time Wei Wei and the senior brothers have met, but they know from occasional chats that they don't know anything about Guyao's identity. But after entering the city today, I heard everyone talking about Guyao and Qi Changjai, especially the just concluded elixir sale, which made people talk about it, so Wei Wei was not surprised by Zhou Lang's performance. Wei Wei also knew that with Qi Changjai's turnaround, Guyao's identity would definitely be lost, but he didn't expect it to be exposed so quickly. Of course, he found out what was going on later, and Wei Wei couldn't help but tell Wang Jianmen. The disciples silently mourned. Senior brother Zhou Lang looked at each other in dismay. The two of them were so stupid that others saw a joke for a long time. But it's worth it. How many people out there are envious of them now? Zhou Lang also felt that he was very lucky, otherwise he would still be dragging his body. When Wei Wei saw Guyao, he said, "Master Gu, now that your identity has been revealed, do you want to change your residence?" Young Master Zhang has been looking forward to Master Gu and Daioqi going to Dingxian Pavilion. Now Zhang Jingfeng's position in Dingxian Pavilion is extremely stable, and he has truly become the only young master and heir. In recent years, he has mastered a lot of business in the general pavilion. Zhang Jingfeng can have this position today, and he is closely related to Guyao and Qi Changjai. Related, so I have great respect for Guyao and Qi Changjai. Guyao was willing to stay in Bezhu before, and Zhang Jingfeng also respected his choice. However, many people in Lingzhou were staring at Guyao, and the news spread that this shop would not be peaceful in the future. The director of the Yukiao City Lord's Mansion is also here. Guyao is here to thank the City Lord's Mansion for helping to maintain order. Before the director could say anything, he was robbed by Wei Wei, but now I can tell that this person represents Dingxu and Zhang Jingfeng. The relationship between this young master and Guyao, as long as they pay attention to them, very few will not know. The manager was afraid that Guyao would leave Yuanguang City or even Bezhu after hearing Wei Wei's advice, so he hurriedly said what he had prepared, Gu Alchemist, the city lord asked me to ask Gu Alchemist if he needs to change his residence. The location of this shop is very important to Gu Dan. Teacher and fellow Daoist Chi are not suitable anymore. The city owner has prepared several positions for the ancient alchemist to choose. As long as the ancient alchemist is satisfied, those places will be immediately assigned to the name of the ancient alchemist. The general manager wants to keep Guyao in Yuanguang City as much as possible, and if it is impossible, he has to keep people in Bizhu. Not to mention, the monks in Yuanguang City have obtained the top-grade pills in the store, and their cultivation is much faster than before. Even the third-grade pills obtained by the city master this time can also speed up their own cultivation. It is not impossible for the strength of the city to rise one rank. Yinhua and Zhou Hu were sitting next to them, watching them fight for Guyao. Guyao smiled. He had discussed this matter with Qi Changjai, and both of them felt that it was better to stay in Bizhu. So I glanced at Wei Wei and the general manager, and said, the place is going to be changed, but Daoist Wei helps us to say sorry to Zhang Xiao. This place in Bizhu is not bad. If there is any trouble, it's not too late to leave. We thank the city lord, and we will look at the place first. Wei Wei was already mentally prepared and was not too disappointed. Fortunately, Guyao would not interrupt his contact with Dingxian Pavilion. The general manager was overjoyed. Guyao was willing to stay in Yuanguang City, which was a good thing for them. They were busy taking out the map they brought. It is best to decide the place right away. Wei Wei also helped in the process. After a moment, they waited until Guyao and his party settled in their new residence before leaving. The new residence is located on the most aura-rich mountain in Yuanguang City. It is not far from the city lord's mansion. It was originally the city lord's private site. There are many courtyards on the mountain, and everyone no longer needs to crowd in one courtyard. There are shops under the mountain, but the scale can be expanded a lot, and they can still continue to open and sell medicinal talismans. The original store has not been transferred, and the monks in Yuanguang City can't wait to provide this store. Where can others live in it? A notice was also posted outside the store, explaining the moving matters and the location of the new store, which made the cultivator who learned that the ancient alchemist moved a sigh of relief. As soon as they settled down in the new residence and sent Wei Wei away, Guyao and the others welcomed waves of guests, which made people sigh with emotion. This new home moved in time, otherwise these people would have no place to stay. The ones who came were basically sword cultivators who participated in the sword domain Lilian with Qi Changjai. Whether it was Qi Changjai or Guyao, it was impossible to keep people out. Besides, Qi Changjai originally used the Northern State Sword Cultivation section based on this plan. It can be said that the timing of their arrival is very suitable. Guyao received the gift with a soft hand. Compared with the sects in other big states, the Northern State Sword sect was a bit poorer, but it has been passed down for countless years and raised so many disciples. How could it be so poor? There are also some treasures in the warehouse. Taking out one or two of them to join Guyao, a talented alchemist with great potential, in their opinion, it is very worthwhile. Otherwise, these treasures of heaven and earth could not be kept in their hands. Every time they asked Ling Zhou for alchemy, the reward they sent could not be low. Even because Bizhu lacked good alchemists, Ling Zhou treated them even more. Big opening. Apart from being slaughtered by them, what can the Bizhu sword sect do? Xia Yuans and Qi Changjai exchanged their swordsmanship and said, I heard about the grievance between Daoist Qi and Master Gu in Lingzhou. It's not good for the two of you to come to Bizhu. Just as Xia set off for Yuanguang City, the head sent a message to invite other leaders of Jianmen to discuss important matters. In this matter, Bizhu the sword sect will try to find a consistent position. That's right, said another Jiangziu who was watching the battle next to him, stepping on the sword light. We Mingxinzong and Dian Jianpai have the same meaning. We shouldn't let outsiders come to our realm to bully our own people. Mingxin Jianzong is another first-class sword sect in Bizhu, and its status is also unique. Moreover, the sword cultivator is very smart. He directly classifies Qi Changjai as his own. As his Taoist companion, Gu Yao, is also a member of Bizhu sword sect. You are alone, do you still have problems protecting your family? Who said swordsmen must be upright? Jiangziu has the wisdom of Jiangziu. Haha, how can this matter be less of our Fengleiji Unshuang? If anyone dares to come to our Bizhu to make trouble, let them taste the power of our Fengleiji Unshuang. Fengleiji Un, a sturdy sword cultivator, appeared in a flash in front of them. After he came, he pestered Qi Changjai to discuss several times, and also mentioned the regret of their village owner several times. Qi Changjai is actually the most suitable for cultivating the swordsmanship of Fengleiji Unshuang. Lai Hu, I also have the root of the thunder system, and I am very worried about the defeat in the sword domain by the Qi Changjai sword. The important thing is important, but he is also thinking about improving his swordsmanship all day long, so that he can defeat Qi Changjai one day. But you have to accompany me to learn a few more games. I think this place is good, I plan to stay for a while. Daiuchi, you won't drive me away. Lei Hu's voice also seemed to be accompanied by a sound of wind and thunder, rumbling loudly, and the other two sword cultivators cursed in their hearts when they saw his appearance. Qi Changjai smiled back and said, "Thank you for your kindness, Gu Yao and I are here to thank you. As for this mountain, you can stay as long as you want. I'm afraid that the reception is not good. To be able to communicate with all the sword friends, it is Qi the unrequited thing." Haha, it's settled. There are a lot of buildings on the mountain. Besides, everyone has their own caves. As long as there is an empty space, they can live in the caves. So many swordsmen stayed. For a time, Yuanguang city was in Bizhu. The status has been greatly improved. The originally inconspicuous small city immediately entered the eyes of the entire northern state and even the forces outside the state. Qi Changjai went back and talked to Gu Yao about the meaning of each sword faction. Although he expected that the relationship between Bizhu and Lingzhou would be very delicate, judging from today's situation, it seems to be worse than they thought. Yin Hua said, "This is a good thing for us." He already knew the grievances between Su Chen and Lingzhou. Gu Yao and Su Chen's close relationship will never escape. Besides, even if Gu Yao is not opposed to Lingzhou, the forces in Lingzhou will not let Gu Yao go. It seems that Lingzhou's side may have done something too extreme. The sword faction in Bizhu has been holding grudges for a long time. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 502. Gu Yao did not give in return for the gestures of various sword factions. He took some orders selectively. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that these sword factions were very angry with Lingzhou and did not allow Lingzhou forces to intervene in the north. State affairs. Although Gu Yao can only accept the list of third-grade medicinal herbs at the highest, but after carefully studying his past powers, he will not know how fast he and Qi Changjai are growing, and the top leaders of the powers can still wait for him to refine the second-grade medicine. Even at the time of Yupandan, the top-quality pills brought back by these disciples who came to Yuanguang city made all the sword factions very happy. Such high-quality pills have never been obtained from Lingzhou before, and there are so many of them. The most important thing is that, the price that Gu Yao offered was extremely fair. For the same amount of medicinal herbs, they were willing to pay 10 times as much, but they could not get it from Lingzhou. They had a lot of dealings with the sword cultivators who came to the new residence, and Gu Yao and Yin Hua gradually learned from these sword cultivators the grievances between the sects behind them and Lingzhou. Take Lai Hu as an example. He has a very violent temper, and there is absolutely no good thing to say about Lingzhou. The wind and thunder swordsmanship of Fengleiji Unshuang is relatively explosive, which also makes it easier for the sword cultivator to lose control of the violent wind and thunder sword qi in his body. Alchemist's losses are not small. My master is the elder of Fengleiji Unshuang, a sword cultivator in the later stage of Mahayana. He had reached the peak of Mahayana, and he was only one step away from transcending the calamity. However, at the last moment, the wounds left in Master's body also erupted. At that time the owner of the village went to Lingzhou to ask for alchemy in person, but the alchemist of Lingzhou took care of him everywhere, and wanted Fengal Jianzhuang to serve the wind and thunder in the village with his hands. I almost picked up my sword and killed Lingzhou. Yugong Fenjian's position in Fenglai Jianzhuang is known by all the forces in the spiritual world, but Lingzhou is too shameless, and it is not the first time that he wants to fight this strange fire. After the master released the harsh words, Jianzhuang he had a bad relationship with Lingzhou, and in the end, the master only found a middle-grade medicine pill, but he couldn't control the backlash of the old wound, and in the end, not only did he fail to advance, but his cultivation level also fell back to the current stage of Mahayana. Lingzhou. Sooner or later I will find them to settle this account. Lei Hu glared angrily. If there was an alchemist from Lingzhou in front of him, he would immediately chop it into 10 and 8 sections with his sword. Guyao and Qi Changjai didn't expect the festival between Fengal Jianzhuang and Lingzhou at all, and because they stayed in Bezhu for some time, they also heard of Fengal Jianzhuang and the reputation of the duo Gang Fenjian. Unlike alchemist Zhou, this strange fire of Fenglai Jianzhuang was used by disciples in the sect to temper their sword qi. So how could Fengal Jianzhuang hand over the treasures of Zhuangzhong's inheritance? Even Lai Hu's master couldn't agree to Lingzhu's rude demands for himself, otherwise he would be the sinner of the entire Jianzhuang. Ancient alchemist, Lai Hu said with a serious expression, if the ancient alchemist can refine the elixir to save the master in the future, the direction that the ancient alchemist is pointing is the direction Lai Hu my sword is going, which is to kill Shangling. The state does not hesitate. Lei Hu slapped himself on the chest, and his vow even aroused Feng Leiyan. Guyao and Yin Hua beside him had no doubts about Lei Hu's words. Guyao smiled. It was too early to agree, and to make such a pill, at least he had to wait until he became a Mahayana monk. Lei Hu rolled his eyes and said, Gu alchemist, you don't think this happened to Fenglai Jianzhuang? In fact, the great sword sect in Lingzhou has never suffered any losses or anger in Lingzhou, so Gu alchemist, you can rest assured to stay in Bezhu. We sword sects will definitely protect the ancient alchemist, Lingzhu's hands dare to reach in, and cut off their hands first. Guyao laughed, no disbelief, just a little surprise. Lingzhou will push Bezhu to this point asterisk. Different fire is important to alchemists, but Qinggang Fenjian is just as important to Fengal Jianzhuang as different fires are to alchemists, and even more so. Lingzhou used strange fire to persecute Lai Hu's master and Fengal Jianzhuang. Guyao has nothing to say. This is not just a grudge, it can even be said to be a grudge. Xia Yuans and the others came in and saw that Lei Hu and Guyao were slapping their chests and grinning. They didn't even see it. In order to have a relationship with Guyao and the others, this guy really went to the point of unscrupulousness. Guyao welcomes them to come and stay for a while, because they are Qi Changjai's sword friends. It is very good for Qi Changjai to discuss and communicate often. When Yan Yuanjing comes out to find it, it will be even more lively on the mountain. I watch it all day. When the sword Qi was in full swing, Qi Changjai had to set aside a special area, not to affect Guyao's side, and destroy the great environment. Zhou Lang and Zhou Mintao are also very happy in such an environment. Qi Changjai did not prohibit others from watching when they were discussing, so the two seized the great opportunity and felt that their swordsmanship had improved a lot in a short period of time. People are in good spirits, and a few words are casually spoken, which will make them even more stunned. There is still a big gap between the third-rate sword sect and the first-rate sword section in factions such as Lai Hu. They focus on training disciples, and their master's vision is also very different from that of the monks of the third-rate sword sect asterisk. Now the shops under the mountain are open at a fixed time, and a batch of medicinal pills and talismans will be sold every 10 days. Therefore, various forces will send monks to wait under the mountain or in Yuanguang city early. These forces not only include Bezhu. Yes, there are also people from outside Bizhu, which has led to a sharp increase in the number of monks in Yuanguang City, and it can be seen from time to time that integrated monks can be seen. Some forces, such as the Dian Sword sect Fenglai Villa, simply set up a stronghold in Yuanguang City, which greatly increased the status of Yuanguang City in Bizhu. Although it is still a third-rate city on the bright side, everyone unanimously no longer regards Yuanguang City as a third-rate city. It can be said that the power of one person has driven the leap of the entire city. This situation is not good news for all parties in Lingzhou. However, they used to be too ruthless with the Bizhu sword sect. Even if they wanted Lingzhou sword sect to cooperate with them, they couldn't get a response, and they ignored them in Lingzhou. Damn. The old man from Fengaljianswang is as stubborn as the stinky stone. He promised to refine the medicinal pills for him, and even promised to give it to the top-grade pills. He didn't agree with anything. Is this old guy crazy? The elders of Tianyunzong were so angry that they cursed. Now Tianyunzong not only looked at the pill pavilion in the hands of Guyao and Su Chen, but also hated Guyao to the bone. An elder of Tianyunzong was planted in Guyao's hands. And because the reputation of his Tianyun sect has been affected, those forces are questioning Tianyun sect, why the devil does not parasitize the monks of other forces, but parasitizes the elders of Tianyun sect? Did Tianyunzong reach an agreement with the devil insect? Otherwise, how could the situation in the dark state be dragged down by the Dan Alliance, and how many monks would be affected? In the past few years, Lingzhou has set up eyeliners in various places to look for Guyao and a few people. I never expected him to open a small shop in Yuanguang City, Bizhu. Lingzhou can hardly get involved in Bizhu. Arranged in a first-class and second-class city, you will run to such a small place if you can't think of it, and you will miss the most important news as a result. Now Guyao is jointly protected by several major sword sects in Bizhu, and there is an alchemist from Lingzhou, but there is a sword cultivator with strong combat power. If they fight, Lingzhou will definitely lose, so there is no way to be under the eyes of these major sword sections. They were also afraid that the Bizhu sword sect would take this opportunity to retaliate against them and cut off a few more alchemists from them, which would not be worth the loss. The most important thing is that Su Chen has no trace to be found. Needless to say, he must be following the blood slaughter monk, but even this monk has disappeared. If such a great master wants to hide his whereabouts, all parties in Lingzhou are really there is no way to get him. Now that Su Chen's identity has been determined, all parties in Lingzhou always believe that that thing must be on Su Chen. Guyao was trained by Su Chen's teaching, so it is useless to hold Guyao, and Su Chen must be caught together. But now, even Su Chen's whereabouts cannot be found. The only solution now is to wait for them to come to our Lingzhou. Don't forget our next alchemy competition in Lingzhou. I don't believe them. The two would be willing to miss this opportunity. We want to attack them, and that guy must also try his best to kill him back to Lingzhou. Yes, this time they came to Lingzhou to throw themselves into the net, but they can't be let out again. Even if the blood slaughter monk comes over, he will have to go back and forth. Do you really think that our Lingzhou is so easy to bully? In a town in Lingzhou specializing in planting spirit grass, many monks were weeding and expelling insects in the spiritual field. A group of monks patrolling flew through the air. After they got far away, 2 monks looked up and looked up. After that, I returned to the ridge and sat down to rest. Did you hear that they were talking about Guyao and appeared again? This time in Bizhu, I heard that many alchemists here scolded Guyao for disgracing their alchemists. Bah! They still have the face to say that Guyao lost the face of an alchemist. What are they? But Guyao and the others can really run. How many places have they run away? Dongzhou, Fengzhou, Anzhou, now it is Bizhu. There is still news that we have not been able to find out. It is estimated that this spiritual world will let them travel all over. Do you think Guyao and the others will come to Lingzhou this time? The fat monk scratched his face and said, it's hard to say, I hope Guyao won't come, but I have an intuition that Guyao will definitely come. The other cultivator was Tianfirong. He sighed and said, yeah, I think so too. I think we need to inquire more about it next, so that Guyao and the others can be prepared. That's right, Sai. Guyao and the others would never have imagined that as soon as we came to the spiritual world, we were caught to farm. The fat man sighed and shook his head, but neither of them was expected by a spiritual planter. Fortunately, the time came. Long, each of them has opened some doors with their abilities, and the spiritual planter can't do without the formation and refining. Those alchemists are high above, but they don't know that Lings whose middle and lower ranks are another face, which gives them a chance to take advantage. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 503. Because of the maintenance of the various sword factions in Bizhu, Guyao's cultivation life in Yuanguang City quickly stabilized. If anyone wanted to make trouble, the sword cultivators in Yuanguang City were the first to disagree. The exchanges and discussions with Xia Yuan's, Lihu, and others will help Qi Changjai's cultivation to settle down faster, and the various gains in the sword domain will be digested quickly, and it will truly become his own strength. At this time, Qi Changjai's cultivation has been steadily advancing. The post-combination period. Yan Yuanjing is also not bad, and the clutch is only one step away. Other sword cultivators who have entered the sword field have gained a lot. It is normal to cross a small order, and it is not uncommon to cross two small orders. Of course, that is often seen in monks below the fit, and after precipitation such as Qi Changjai. A cultivator who has crossed two minor ranks makes each sword faction very rare. Moreover, the sword leaves and sword fruits they absorbed are not only heaven and earth treasures for Jiangziu to improve their cultivation. The sword qi became more and more condensed and elite, and its power also rose to a new level. Qi Changjai thought about it, and a wisp of sword energy flashed and shot into a stone in the yard. The stone didn't seem to change at all, and then he flicked his sleeve in the long night, and the stone standing there scattered into a pile of powder. This stone is not an ordinary stone, but a kind of body refiner Shuhuan used to refine his body. Jiangziu also likes to use the stone as a sword sharpening stone when he is on the road, to measure the number of sword marks left on the stone. Given the progress of swordsmanship, it is still very firm in texture, regardless of its weight. In the past, it was not impossible to destroy the stone in the long night, but it was impossible to be so easy. Guyao, who was next to him, said in shock. Brother Ye, your sword energy is much stronger. Qi Changjai was also happy. After taking Jianyi Jiangguo, even if his strength did not improve, his real combat power could be said to have doubled due to such a change in sword qi. Jianyu is indeed a magical place. It can also breed such a strange existence as the sword tree. By the way, I also left a sword leaf. Qi Changjai took out the sword leaf wrapped with sword energy and put it in Guyao's hand. Inside, his sword qi will not hurt Guyao, and the sword qi can keep the sword leaf for a longer time. This is the only way to preserve the sword leaf and the sword fruit, otherwise it will gradually dissipate. Guyao had heard Lei Hu and the others complaining about Qi Changjai and Yan Yuanjing, how they deceived people too much in the sword domain and seized so many Jianyi Jiangguo, so he didn't say anything about the remaining Jianyi. Jitsizidi took it down, observed it carefully, and said, "This leaf is like many small swords condensed. It is extremely sharp, but because of the shape of the leaf, the sharpness is restrained." After playing with it for a while, he put the sword leaf in the space and collected it. He said, "Brother Ye, I actually have a good idea." Qi Changjai took his hand and said, "Xiaoao, say it." Guyao rolled his eyes and said, "Actually, this is considered to be very quiet and thoughtful. I think that with Daoist Yan, we can visit various sword sections. This is considered a courtesy, right?" After Qi Changjai was stunned for a moment, he hugged Guyao and laughed. Where is the quiet and thoughtful? It was clearly Guyao who was thinking of a way to help him practice. As for adding himself, it was because he believed that the various sword sects were unwilling to treat Guyao like this. If a genius alchemist pushes out, he will have to trouble Guyao to make alchemy. It's your hard work, Xiaoao. Guyao laughs. You, and what's so hard about this? Alchemy is also a practice, and the stronger you are, brother, the more protection you will give me. Thinking about the Lingzhou Grand Competition a few years later, Qi Changjai nodded and said, okay, just follow what Xiaoao said. When Qi Changjai mentioned it to Yan Yuanjing, the latter's eyes suddenly brightened, not only agreeing, but also more positive than Qi Changjai. For Yan Yuanjing, the spiritual world is really a good place. Although the mainland where he lived in the past, there are sword schools, but not to mention a few, the strength is also very different. Where is a Bizhu as big as the spiritual world, it is completely swords. Xiu is dominant, and Xiangbei's sword cultivators will make him very satisfied. Even if you want to set off, you must arrange the affairs of Yuanguang City. First of all, the shop under the mountain will not be closed, and a batch of medicinal herbs will still be released every 10 days. State monks. Yanhua doesn't like to go there. These swordsmen are all fighting lunatics. He can't think of anything, so he ran to these swordsmen's nests to make himself suffer, so he stayed to take care of the mountains and focus on cultivation. The vicinity of Yuanguang City is enough for them. This cultivation base has been practiced, and we will talk about it later. These trivial matters were simply explained, so the three of them set off quietly. Their goals were too obvious, and it was not good to publicize them. Of course, they also sent news to the city owner to explain the itinerary and the arrangement of the shop. Just after leaving Yuanguang City, a divine sense message was sent directly to Guyao's Sea of Consciousness, leaving him standing there for a while. Is it Senior Su's message? Where are he and Grandmaster? Because of the familiarity of the breath, Qi Changjai did not take action to intercept it. Guyao opened his eyes and said with complicated eyes, in addition to traveling in the past few years, the seniors and the master have been secretly tracking the whereabouts of the female insect, and finally let them find it, but because of the cunning of the female insect, the predecessors and the master followed up with him. The female worm fell into the space crack together, and it was sent out by the senior at the moment of falling in. Senior, let us not worry. With the master there, no matter where we go, there will be no danger. Moreover, the senior suspects that there may be the intervention of the spiritual world cultivator behind this. Let us be calm and wait for them to come back and solve it in person. Qi Changjai said, I believe in the master and can definitely protect Senior Su. In this lower realm, no cultivator's strength can absolutely surpass that of the master. In the spiritual world, Master Liaoxu belongs to the top group of existences. Master Liaoxu and Sword Demon, they have rarely done anything. At their level, it is almost impossible to fight with life and death, because it is difficult to keep the opponent's life, and the monks have too many methods. Therefore, as long as Su is immortal, he will be able to protect Su Chen. Besides, Su Chen's cultivation is no weaker than Qi Changjai, and he has the power to protect himself. Guyao nodded, I feel that I can no longer contact the seniors. I hope the seniors and masters can come back soon. Because of Su Chen's close relationship with Pill Pavilion, and Guyao's incomparable familiarity with his soul, the connection between Guyao and him is very special. He can sense at this moment that senior is no longer in the spiritual world. Of course, it may also be in the space of the island where they stayed last time. At this moment, Su Chen and Liao Su were in a very bad situation. When Su Gang discovered the female worm's breath, he actually realized that something was wrong. However, the female worm is even more dangerous. Once it escapes, the previous situation in Anzhou will rekindle, and a certain number of daughter worms will be released to parasitize the air. In the cultivator's body, when the child worm breaks out and recovers the child worm, the strength of the mother worm will recover or even go a step further. So to let it go is to bring disaster to the entire spiritual world. If there is a chance to completely remove it, I will not let it go. Knowing that it was a trap, Liao Su stepped into it. But the moment he stepped in, Liao Su also sent a message to the sword demon, asking him and several others to watch over the guys in the spiritual world who dared to collude with the demon insects, and one day, they would harvest the lives of those guys. The female worm exploded in the space crack, setting off a more violent space storm. Li Su resisted the storm and opened up the space, wrapped in Su Chen and swept in. The space storm behind her was even stronger. That little soul was also smashed into pieces, and the female worm was completely wiped out. This result was unexpected, so he took the risk. The next moment, Su Chen found that they were in a dark space, but because the people around him did not panic, he just asked, "Where is this?" "I don't believe that you are really unprepared, little monk, this place should be the same. You stay behind." Su Chen has long realized that he is the fool. The little monk pretended to be a pig early in the morning. He might have been tricked by others when he was not good enough in the past, but these thousands of years were in vain. It used to be a human being, and now it is even more refined. Who can count on him? After Su Su looked around, he smiled like a flower. "This is the devil world. Didn't you want to see the devil world, Chen Chen?" Su Chen was startled and really jumped up. "What did you say? Demon world?" "Well, little monk, I knew you had bad intentions, but you brought me to the demon world and asked me to call Tian Tian not called. Not going back, right?" Su Su smiled even more beautifully. "Chen Chen is really smart." Su Chen couldn't help but blushed. "Bah! You little monk has a bad stomach, and expelling you from Buddhism is the best thing Buddhism has done. Where did you live with Chen Chen in Buddhism?" About to die, this stinky monk is becoming more and more eloquent. Su Chen chased the little monk to fight, ignoring that this is the devil world, and the two had been arguing for a while, but there was no movement. Su Chen knew that the little monk would never harm him, so the devil world is the devil world. When he returns to the spiritual world, he can brag to Guyao, or his little monk is so powerful that he can take him to the devil world for a tour. It will be too late. That guy in the long night has such ability. As soon as it comes, it is safe, so Su Chen became curious about the demon world, and wanted to go around and study more, such as the refining of magic pills. "Little monk, did you come from the demon world before?" "Yeah, but to walk in the demon world, we need to modify it, otherwise it will be easy for the demons to see through." Liao Su said that he changed his body. He who was originally dressed in snow-white monk clothes turned into a monk in black clothes. He was obviously still the same person, but his appearance did not change, but because of the change of clothes, the whole person became full of evil, especially a red lotus appeared between his eyebrows. At first glance, Su Chen's breathing was stagnant, but his heart was beating extremely fast. Originally, the little monk was born with indistinguishable sexes, but now he has added a bit of bewitching, and in Su Chen's eyes, he is a peerless demon. Too foul. Transmigration, First-Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 504. Looking at Su Chen again, a soft light flashed in Liao Su's eyes, and he put a black Buddha bead with red light on Su Chen's chest. Qi lingers, but these devilish qi is harmless to Su Chen himself, because it comes from Su, and like its owner, the least harm is Su Chen. Su Chen also woke up from staring blankly, not admitting that he was seduced by beauty, pretended to check his own situation, and quickly became curious. This way we don't have to worry about identity exposure. The little monk has done a good job. Hurry up, lead the way. A well-served uncle has a rewarding tone. Su Chen took his hand and flew out. Su Chen kept asking questions, and the most curious thing was the red lotus between Su's eyebrows, because he felt an aura of strange fire, but when he was in the spiritual world I never knew the sky was still in flames. He felt that this strange fire was most likely the legendary red lotus karmic fire, but the acquisition of the red lotus karmic fire was also of the legendary level, so he was not sure, nor could he imagine that Su obtained this strange fire. Process. You are already suspicious, why are you not sure? You guessed right, this is the red lotus karma. With this red lotus karma, I can walk sideways in this demon world with Chen Chen. By the way, I used to be in when I was walking in the demon world, someone gave me a name, called Red Lotus. Old demon Li Su pointed to the red lotus between his eyebrows and explained, in fact, most people call him the Red Lotus demon, he doesn't like it, it is still the old devil be nice. Pi is meaningless to him, except for attracting Su Chen, so there is no need for others to pay more attention to his appearance. It is better for Huan to make these demons fear him a little more. Su Chen is excited, then tell me, what kind of name should I take now? It's better to be nicer, more powerful, one that makes people want to turn around and run after hearing it. When he came to the demon world, his temperament also changed a little. He was no longer introverted, and he was free-spirited. He could take whatever he wanted, and we had time to discuss slowly along the way. Su Chen's face turned red again, and he always felt that the little monk became less reserved after he came to the devil world, but, it seems that there is nothing wrong with it, whether it is a person or a monk, of course, you have to do whatever you want. Anyway, the little monk has betrayed Buddhism. Thinking of this, Su Chen also accepted the false change, and seriously discussed with him about the name, which was related to his image. I was very happy to see Su Chen's attention diverted from Su, and I didn't want Su Chen to know how he got the red lotus karma in the first place. No one wanted to go through that process again. He was reborn due to the red lotus karmic fire. Why can't anyone get the red lotus karmic fire? Because the souls of those people have turned into the nourishment of the red lotus karmic fire. Unless the mind is firm enough and the obsession is deep enough, can they be reborn from the fire? More than 10 days have passed, and the new name Dragon Old Demon has not brought much interest to Su Chen, because most of the places he has passed are desolate and the sky is gray, which makes people from the spiritual world unimaginable. Living in such a place for a long time. It turned out to be the edge, so there is no good scenery. There are many talents in the demon world, and there are places with good scenery. Let's go, I will take you to meet the poisonous dragon I conquered back then, and it will be your mount in the future. He hugged Su Chen's waist and stepped into the torn space crack, so Su Chen's name was recommended to him by Su Chen. After chewing on it, Su Chen thought it was not bad. But if people in the demon world who know the old red lotus can see it, who can't guess the relationship between them? The old red lotus demon, who has always been alone, will give the poisoned dragon to others as a mount. Unless the relationship is very special. Back then, there were quite a few witches and witches in the demon world who offered their own pillow seats, but no one liked old demon red lotus. Those people thought that old demon red lotus was beautiful enough, and they didn't like him. The two stepped into the space where the demonic energy was more intense, and heard the roars. Su Chen shivered, and then became excited. This big guy is strong enough, and it is Two-Face to use him as a mount. With the roar, a big guy flew over, overwhelming the sky, and the dim light was even darker. Su Chen looked up and saw two big lanterns that were glowing with blood. They were the two of the poisoned dragon. But then a poisonous flame was sprayed out of the mouth of the poisonous dragon. With a sharp look in his eyes, the red light flashed, and with a wave of his palm, the poisonous dragon was fanned out, and Su Chen, who was standing there, lit up his eyes, and the poisonous dragon let him. Excited, the little monk who can fan the mighty poisonous dragon with a slap makes him even more admired. The little monk completely conforms to all his visions, beautiful and strong. As if he knew what Su Chen was thinking, Liao Su stood in the air, waiting for the poisonous dragon to fly back and slap him out with a slap, ravaging the poisonous dragon again and again inhumanely. The poisonous dragon is as big as a mountain, and standing under the poisonous dragon is as insignificant as the dust, but the poisonous dragon has no resistance in the face of the dust, and was beaten so much that the scales on his body fell off a lot, and black blood was spilled on the ground, and he lowered his head and surrendered again, lying in front of Su and whining, looking at Su with more timidity in his eyes. Damn, I was beaten by this to the east and couldn't go west. I finally waited for this to disappear and he regained his freedom. I didn't expect this to come back. Come back. When he comes back, he thought that after so many years of hard work, it can break back into the field, but I didn't expect that this seemed to be even more powerful, and he was beaten so much that he didn't even have the idea of resisting. Su Chen was overjoyed. This big guy is really mighty, and it will be his mount from now on. I really want to ride back to the spiritual world to show off. Of course, riding in the demon world is also quite good, so I happily attack the poisonous dragon. Poison dragon fury, who is this weakling? I wanted to spray the poisonous flame again, but the poisonous flame was slapped back into the stomach with a slap, and then I reached out and grabbed the poisonous dragon's head, and I grabbed the poisonous dragon's soul, and then pulled out a ray of origin from it. After ingesting Su Chen's sea of consciousness, he pressed his soul essence back to Nuba Nuba. After returning to his senses, the poisonous dragon was dumbfounded and stared blankly at Su Chen, who was forced to recognize his master. The weak demon cultivator, who was despised by it just now, has now become its master? Su Chen sensed the grievances of the Dulong, raised his hips to the sky and laughed loudly. Let you look down on me, ha ha. I am your master now. If you want to live, you will live, if you want to die, you will die, so from now on after that, honestly give me the mount for the old demon of the poison dragon, do you know? In this way, his name is worthy of its name, and the poisonous dragon is completely down. Su Chen controls the origin of the poisonous dragon's soul in his sea of consciousness. As long as he has a thought, the poisonous dragon's soul will explode. This is the most ruthless of all contracts. It has nothing to do with strength. Chen is strong, but he can't scoff at Su Chen. Let's go, let's ride the dragon. Su Chen patted Dulong's big head excitedly and said while pulling Su. Okay, Lu Suer replied. So Dulong carried Su Chen and Liao Su on his back, flew out of Dulong's nest, and killed a city where many demons gathered. As soon as the poisonous dragon came out, it alarmed many demon forces. Who was the one who tamed this poisonous dragon? Or is it that Dulong is bored in his old nest and wants to come out for a walk? Since the old red lotus demon, it is not that no demons have the idea of fighting the poisonous dragon, but except for those who managed to escape, all the rest entered the stomach of the poisonous dragon and became its food. In the demon world, the weak and the strong are more naked. On the way, Su Su also instilled these concepts into Su Chen intentionally or unintentionally. The name of the old red lotus was killed in the demon world, and the monks in the spiritual world must know it, and they will know this. It is a fierce name, and the past in the spiritual world is not worth mentioning at all. When it got close, finally a demon found that there were two figures on the back of the poisonous dragon, so they immediately advertised it, especially one of them looked like the old red lotus demon. So before they reached the city in front, the demon forces there received news that the old demon red lotus was back. When the arrogant and domineering demons heard this name, they suddenly became trembling and startled. They used to be daring, but now they can't wait to retreat to their old nest and wait until the old demon leaves again before coming out again. There are also new demons who don't know the old red lotus demon. After all, the competition among the strong in the demon world is more fierce and cruel, and there are talents from all over the world. Who knows the true face of the old red lotus demon? Is it that scary? Before the blood-mad guy came to our side to show off his power, wasn't he killed by the city lord himself? I thought he was crazy, but he was beaten by the city lord and begged for mercy. Fuck you, just die. That's right, listen to this name, what kind of old red lotus devil, motherfucker, I can slap this guy out with a slap. This ranting guy didn't realize that, as soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding demons quickly flashed away, staying away from him, lest he would be tired and become cannon fodder by this unscrupulous guy. Sure enough, next, a poisonous flame smashed down, and the entire restaurant was turned to ashes with a bang. The demon cultivators who didn't have time to run farther also rushed to the restaurant's fate. As for the demons who spoke madly, I didn't even have time to think of regret, and I didn't even know who died at the moment of death. The demon cultivator, who was lucky enough to escape, looked at the poisonous dragon flapping its wings in the sky and the two figures standing on the back of the poisonous dragon. No one dared to jump out and shout. Even if the name of the Red Lotus old demon has not been heard before, who does not know about this poisonous dragon? Every once in a while, he came out to hunt for food, and the monsters in the surrounding area had already been swallowed up by it, or he would have moved home early, so the scope of the hunt was getting farther and farther, and the fiercer name spread farther and farther. How can someone who can use this poisonous dragon as a mount and make the poisonous dragon surrender? This book is exclusively published by Lian Cheng Reading, please do not reprint. The official account searches Lian Cheng to read, give members, and receive benefits. The weak demon cultivator, who was despised by it just now, has now become its master? Su Chen sensed the grievances of the Dulong, raised his hips to the sky and laughed loudly, let you look down on me, ha ha, I am your master now, if you want to live, you will live, if you want to die, you will die, so from now on after that, honestly give me the mount for the old demon of the poison dragon, do you know? In this way, his name is worthy of its name, and the poisonous dragon is completely down. Su Chen controls the origin of the poisonous dragon's soul in his sea of consciousness. As long as he has a thought, the poisonous dragon's soul will explode. This is the most ruthless of all contracts. It has nothing to do with strength. Chen is strong, but he can't scoff at Su Chen. Let's go, let's ride the dragon. Su Chen patted Dulong's big head excitedly and said while pulling Su. Okay, Lu Suer replied. So Dulong carried Su Chen and Liao Su on his back, flew out of Dulong's nest, and killed a city where many demons gathered. As soon as the poisonous dragon came out, it alarmed many demon forces. Who was the one who tamed this poisonous dragon? Or is it that Dulong is bored in his old nest and wants to come out for a walk? Since the old red lotus demon, it is not that no demons have the idea of fighting the poisonous dragon, but except for those who managed to escape, all the rest entered the stomach of the poisonous dragon and became its food. In the demon world, the weak and the strong are more naked. On the way, Su Su also instilled these concepts into Su Chen intentionally or unintentionally. The name of the old red lotus was killed in the demon world, and the monks in the spiritual world must know it, and they will know this. It is a fierce name, and the past in the spiritual world is not worth mentioning at all. When it got close, finally a demon found that there were two figures on the back of the poisonous dragon, so they immediately advertised it, especially one of them looked like the old red lotus demon. So before they reached the city in front, the demon forces there received news that the old demon red lotus was back. When the arrogant and domineering demons heard this name, they suddenly became trembling and startled. They used to be daring, but now they can't wait to retreat to their old nest and wait until the old demon leaves again before coming out again. There are also new demons who don't know the old red lotus demon. After all, the competition among the strong in the demon world is more fierce and cruel, and there are talents from all over the world. Who knows the true face of the old red lotus demon? Is it that scary? Before the blood-mad guy came to our side to show off his power, wasn't he killed by the city lord himself? I thought he was crazy, but he was beaten by the city lord and begged for mercy. "Fuck you, just die." "That's right, listen to this name, what kind of old red lotus devil, motherfucker, I can slap this guy out with a slap." This ranting guy didn't realize that, as soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding demons quickly flashed away, staying away from him, lest he would be tired and become cannon fodder by this unscrupulous guy. Sure enough, next, a poisonous flame smashed down, and the entire restaurant was turned to ashes with a bang. The demon cultivators who didn't have time to run farther also rushed to the restaurant's fate. As for the demons who spoke madly, I didn't even have time to think of regret, and I didn't even know who died at the moment of death. The demon cultivator, who was lucky enough to escape, looked at the poisonous dragon flapping its wings in the sky and the two figures standing on the back of the poisonous dragon. No one dared to jump out and shout. Even if the name of the Red Lotus old demon has not been heard before, who does not know about this poisonous dragon? Every once in a while, he came out to hunt for food, and the monsters in the surrounding area had already been swallowed up by it, or he would have moved home early, so the scope of the hunt was getting farther and farther, and the fiercer name spread farther and farther. How can someone who can use this poisonous dragon as a mount and make the poisonous dragon surrender? Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 505. Not only those demons did not dare to come forward to ask questions, but also the owner of the restaurant who was completely destroyed did not dare to complain. He, who was also lucky enough to escape, stepped forward and respectfully bowed to the old Red Lotus demon. If the old demon insisted on him coming, in his opinion, he has to say that it burns well and burns wonderfully. Old demon Red Lotus waved his hand in the sky, and those demons hurriedly ran away, which meant that the old demon did not pursue them and angered them. The demons who worshipped and yearned for the strong also fled to watch the movement from a distance. How many years has the old Red Lotus been alive? Some people speculated that he flew to the upper realm, but he did not expect to appear again, and he also brought someone with him. Seeing that the relationship was very close, they were envious and jealous. The identity of this person is investigated. Just as they were backing away, the city lord rushed over, and as soon as he came, he gave the old devil Red Lotus a great gift, and respectfully invited the old devil to come to the city lord's mansion to stay. The old demon patted the poisonous dragon on the head and said to the city lord, "Lead the way ahead." The city lord was delighted. It was his honor that the old devil Red Lotus was willing to live in the city lord's mansion. When he arrived non-stop, he explained to the people in the city lord's mansion, cleaned the palace where he lived, and prepared to welcome the old devil. It seems that this preparation was not in vain. After riding a poisonous dragon to the city lord's mansion, Su Chen saw the extravagant life of the powerful in the demon world. As soon as he entered the most luxurious palace, the city lord clapped his hands, and the butler brought beautiful and enchanting men and women to offer all kinds of luxury. Clothes and delicacies were presented, some people played music, some people danced. If the city lord saw that Su Chen and the old demon had an extraordinary relationship, and the old demon was not close to beauty, he would have gathered all these beauties to invite pets. Seeing Su Chen staring at those men and women, the old demon Red Lotus frowned and waved his hands to drive them away. The city lord hurriedly took them away, and let the old demon instruct them if something happened. They kept people outside and waited. Su Chen's heart was overwhelmed. He knew the little monk was upset. He clapped his hands and said, "It's just so, compared to the beauty in the spiritual world, it's a little less charming. I prefer to be more reserved." The face of the old Red Lotus was also a little hot, and after a light cough, he spread the common sense of the devil world for Su Chen. It is different from the spiritual world to distinguish the strength of monks according to Jindan Yuanying. These demons are called according to their strengths. Under Yuanying, they are collectively called magic soldiers. Of course, there are also 3, 6, and 9 divisions within the magic soldiers. The strength of Yuanying is different. They are called demon generals. Correspondingly, transforming God is demon commander, Liangxu is demon lord, Fit is demon lord, Mahayana is demon emperor, and Duji is demon lord. The city lord of Gangna is a king demon, but judging from the demonic energy in him, he belongs to a demon clan in the west. The situation in the demon world is much more complicated than that in the spirit world. They have demons, and their appearance is similar to that of the human race. Those who rely on reproduction to continue their offspring. There are also born demons. Such demons are divided into earth demons and celestial demons. Earth demons are relatively weak, but they are also the most diverse. Great, as far as I know, if there are 1 or 2 earth demons among the demon lords in the demon world, it is a great fortune, so most of the earth demons depend on the heavenly demons to survive. Each of the south and northwest is occupied by a powerful demon clan. The area is extremely vast, and there are countless earth demons who are attached to it. The center belongs to the transition zone of their 4 demon clans, and the struggle there is more fierce and cruel. Those who can survive there and make a name are not simple people. The sphere of influence in the south, and northwest is not fixed. It may occupy a piece of territory today, and tomorrow it will be killed and replaced by the demons who will provoke the door. As long as you have the strength, there are countless demons who rely on them, but don't expect the loyalty of these demons. Our mission this time is to inquire about the changes in the forces of the demon world over the years, to see which forces are behind the control of the demons and demons who invaded the spiritual world, or the common tacit understanding of all the demonic forces. Once in the spiritual world, if necessary, I will try to create some chaos, so that they will be incapable of being cloned. He doesn't hesitate to kill these old red lotus demons. In this kind of place, either you kill me or I kill you. These demons will not protest loudly. Su Chen held his chin, and he just said, "This little monk must have made up his mind long ago to run to the devil world. Stepping into the stuffing trap of the devil must be smooth sailing, and let the guys behind him relax their guard." Maybe at this moment they really thought that the little monk and themselves had fallen into some unknown space, and that it would be extremely difficult to return to the spiritual world, so they were proud of their success, right? It's not easy to handle, isn't it? And is it possible for people in the spiritual world who collude with the demon world to see through your identity? No demons in this demon world know that you are from the spiritual world. By the way, the demonic energy in you is not the same as the demonic cultivators in the spiritual world, right? Are you completely demonized? Su Chen realized with hindsight that the monks and monsters in the spiritual world have completely lost their minds and become downright monsters, but the little monk is clearly awake. There won't be any hidden dangers, right? As soon as Su Chen was in a hurry, he could not wait to take the little monk and examine it carefully. The old red lotus demon grabbed Su Chen's hand, but he welcomed Su Chen to strip him away, but he didn't want to see his panicked expression, and pointed to the center of his eyebrows and explained, "Don't worry, with this red lotus karma, these demonic energy can only be used by me. Not even the red lotus karma can devour my soul, let alone this mere amount of demonic energy." This is the biggest reliance for him to rest assured to walk in the devil world. Su Chen's nervous face suddenly relaxed. At this moment, he could not imagine that the process of conquering the red lotus karmic fire was not easy, but obviously the little monk didn't want him to know, but he still felt distressed in his heart. In the pill pavilion space, there are many difficulties that the little monk has to face. Old Demon Red Lotus continued to speak, "This matter seems to be difficult to handle, but it is actually not too difficult to handle. We will just stay here and wait for someone to come to our door. You will know when the time comes. By the way, you want to study the magic world, and I will ask the city owner to send you more books and materials in this regard." Seeing the little monk's confident appearance, Su Chen didn't bother, and nodded his head. After he figured out how to refine the magic pill, he might be able to help the little monk, otherwise his fake magic cultivator would only be a hindrance, and his spiritual power would be exposed once he started. For example, the poison dragon, who has shrunk his huge body and muscles to the side, is very clear about Su Chen's identity. He is actually a weak guy from the spiritual world, but he can't say it to the outside world. The most shameless guy is the old Red Lotus. He has been showing off his power in the demon world for many years, but have the demons seen his identity? Now I have to continue to show off my power. When I think that those demons will be fooled by the shameless old Red Lotus, the suffocation in Yulong's heart is greatly reduced, and the beasts don't have much sympathy for those demons. Heart. Make trouble, the bigger the trouble, the better. Yulong thought so he laughed out loud. Su Chen was horrified, and asked the little monk, "What is this big fool laughing at, laughing like this?" Old demon Red Lotus glanced at it. "Never mind it, anyway, let it follow you wherever you go, and let it block those who have bad intentions." Hu Yulong was furious, and his good mood was gone, but old demon Red Lotus glanced over and it wilted again. The city lord, who was being served by the beautiful woman, finally received the first order from the old Red Lotus demon, and he hurriedly asked his subordinates to do it. He must make this old demon wait for comfort, so as not to let him think about it and kill himself. After making people hurry up to do things, the city lord walked around in the palace, which had dropped a lot of grades, and asked his subordinates, "Has the news spread out?" So far, there is no reply. "You don't have any opinion on returning? You said it's not good for this old Red Lotus to go, and he has to focus on such a small place as me." The news that the city lord was desperately pushing the old Red Lotus to appear behind his back was busy, and he hoped that the demon emperor would come over and get the old demon away, otherwise he would not be able to feel at ease after the old demon stayed for one more day, and lived with anxiety. "I don't know how many demons died at the hands of this old demon. Don't worry, my lord, news has been passed on from the southeast, northwest, and the central region, and the subordinates have specially asked those late-born demon emperors to send news." "How did they see the power of the Red Lotus old demon?" "I can't think of it." "To compete, to make a name for it. If it weren't for the adults from the Tianmo clan in the west, they would not be able to know the horror of the old Red Lotus. Of course, for them, they are only demons at the level of demon kings. The head is enough to deter them. If you don't know his name, you can see the poisonous dragon beside him for him to drive. No need for the old Red Lotus to come forward, just the poisonous flames spewed by the poisonous dragon can burn down the entire city's demons and demons." "That's good, by the way, and those old friends of the old Red Lotus must find a way to inform them that they must be interested in the old Red Lotus." "Okay, subordinates will do it now." When the collection materials collected by the city lord were sent to Su Chen, the top leaders of the major forces in the demon world got the news that the old Red Lotus was returning to the demon world, and the whole demon world was shaken. This evildoer has not yet ascended to the upper realm, but ran back again? Back then, this old demon was also king of the enclosure, and now the demons occupying that territory are even more frightened, for fear that the old Red Lotus will kill him, racking his brains to divert the attention of the old demon and put this. The calamity of the annihilation was passed on to others, and their subordinates also offered suggestions. Needless to say, they really let them come up with several ways. If one fails, they can go to the other, and then move to the current foothold of the Red Lotus old demon at the fastest speed. Come here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 506. As expected by the old Red Lotus, he quickly got busy, and the first ones to arrive were the big demons at the level of demons. They came and went freely in the demon world. Old demon Red Lotus came to the space they had opened with a thought, and sent a message to Yulong to take care of Su Chen. The poisonous dragon did not dare not to obey, its life was tied to Su Chen alone, and if Su Chen died, it would not be able to live. You really look down on this deity, and there are 3 demons here. Are you worried that this deity will endanger your status this time? Although there are demons in the demon world who live a hidden life of cultivation, only waiting for the day they ascend, but most people enjoy the feeling of being in control, and this is the case with these 3 Yu House. It would be very stressful to look at the 3 demon venerables for someone else, but the old Red Lotus man, not only was not embarrassed, but laughed more and more bewitchingly, making these 3 demon venerables slander in their hearts and minds. One of them also had the idea of hitting the old Red Lotus demon. It was so delicious and beautiful, but he was knocked out by this old demon, and it still hurts all over the body when he thinks about it. Look at what you said, anyway, we used to eat meat and drink together. You haven't been able to hide in these years, and we can't find your whereabouts. It's rare that you've come out now, so of course we want to visit 1 or 2. By the way, could the demon cultivator who came back with you below be our brother-in-law? It turns out that the Red Lotus demon venerable is your favorite, say it earlier. The 3 demon venerables swept down and could see Su Chen's appearance clearly. Although he was good-looking, he was by no means stunning. There were no such stunning beauties in the demon world. Old demon Red Lotus sneered, "Come on, the deity is not as good as you are, and people have seen it, so let's talk about other things. Don't worry, since you are here, the deity will come to your land to make trouble." The 3 demon venerables laughed, and one of them said, "We really have a good place to recommend to you. We still don't know what kind of temperament your Red Lotus is. That place is definitely the best place for you, but who owns it? Does the deity recognize it?" The corner of the Red Lotus old devil's mouth twitched. "Really good. Haha, that guy was only a nobody back then, how did he get in front of you, Honglian? But no one cares what he was called before, and then he got a big chance and his strength rose rapidly. Ran, the Tenju demon venerable said early in the morning that he wanted to meet you, Red Lotus, and knowing that you are returning to the demon world, the Tenju fellow will definitely not miss this opportunity." "Really? 10 absolute demon venerables, very good, I also want to meet for a while, let's go." Old demon Red Lotus waved his sleeves to chase people away, and he also stepped out of this space, and the 3 demon venerables also turned and left. However, the 3 did not immediately disperse, and still stayed in one place and communicated with each other. "This guy, Honglian, can really suppress the Tenja demon Ran." When he left, some people said that he had soared, and some people said that he was seriously injured and had to hide to recover. Even if we don't talk, the 2 of them will meet sooner or later. Do you think they will sit down and talk? It's not like you haven't seen Shija's arrogant temperament. Compared to him, I would rather old demon Red Lotus. This guy is better. Over the years, the 10 absolute demon venerables have caused them many troubles, and the power of his subordinates has continued to expand, which has endangered their territory, and this guy doesn't know how to respect the seniors, so he comes to the door one by one. As for Liwei, this guy has some incredible inheritance, none of the 3 of them is this guy's opponent. Compared to the 10 absolute demon venerable, although the Red Lotus demon venerable is also ferocious, he is not very interested in expanding his power. The demon venerable went to weigh the weight of Shiju, and it would be best to suppress the arrogance of Shiju. If they couldn't, then they wouldn't be merciful towards Red Lotus. 10 days later, there was an earth-shattering battle at the Green Demon Peak in the Demon Realm. The demons who were fortunate enough to watch saw the red flames that filled the sky, as if the entire sky was burned to the ground. The demon clan with memory saw that the looming lotus flower in the red flames in the sky was so beautiful and strange, and immediately exclaimed, "That is the old red lotus, that is the unique symbol of the old red lotus, the red lotus." Karma, it is said that wherever the red lotus karma went, no one survived, but I didn't expect to see the Red Lotus Karma appear in the world after so many years. That's not the site of the 10 Absolute Demon Venerable? So the Red Lotus Demon Venerable has found the 10 Absolute Demon Venerable? Then who loses this battle? Win. Then there is no need to ask, it must be the top 10 demons. Among the major demons in the demon world, who is the opponent of the top 10 demons? This is a demon who admires and yearns for the top 10 demons. In his eyes, the 10 absolute demon venerables are invincible in the world. How old is this Red Lotus demon venerable who suddenly appeared? It's so amazing, why haven't I seen him come out for so many years? Ali. A red lotus flower comes out, is it a motherfucker? Combat is not just about looking good. Hey, when the Red Lotus Demon Venerable became famous in the demon world, the 10 Absolute Demon Venerable still didn't know where to squat and beg for food, so it's just him? The next few are not the opponents of the Red Lotus Demon Venerable. In this battle, the 10 Absolute Demon Venerables will definitely lose. I said that the top 10 devils will be defeated, and the loser is the old Red Lotus. Have you had enough arguing? Why don't you come and bet at the opening? Everyone will bet and see who will be the winner in the end. Yes, let's start betting. That fight was a roaring and earth-shattering battle, and Su Chen, who was watching from a distance, was also fascinated by it, while the poisonous dragon beside him was screaming with excitement. Even if he was forced to become Su Chen's magic pet, it would not hinder his longing for worship of the strong. There are other voices mixed in with the wailing. Quick, beat up that idiot called Tenju, yes, just burn him to death, burn. Su Chen knew after a bit of understanding that at the beginning, the top 10 demons also wanted to conquer the poisonous dragon. Although the poisonous dragon could not beat the 10th demon, but the 10th demon could not suppress the poisonous dragon and surrender, but he was called the poisonous dragon. Back then, its poisonous flames failed to kill Shiju, the old thing, so let the Red Lotus karmic fire burn him to nothing. 2 days and 2 nights later, the 10 absolute demon venerables were defeated. In the end, the red flame that burned half of the sky was reduced to a fiery red lotus flower and flew into the body of a beautiful black-clothed demon cultivator below. Now no one dares to deny that the shadow that escaped before was the 10 absolute demon venerable, and from now on this site belongs to the power of the Red Lotus Demon Venerable. The demons who bet on the 10 absolute demons regretted it. The demons who worshipped him very much before turned their backs one after another. They blew rainbow farts at the Red Lotus Demon, and even encouraged their companions to go to the Red Lotus Demon. It must be the time of hiring people when the site is just laid down. If you can't get into the high level and middle level layers, it's good to go in and be a soldier. After all, the Red Lotus Demon Venerable is famous, who would dare to deceive them? Several demon venerables watched the battle from mid-air. In their opinion, this should be an evenly matched battle, but they did not expect such an outcome. It's useless, being burned by the Red Lotus karmic fire will affect even his strength. He was seriously injured. Is the Red Lotus karmic fire an ordinary abnormal fire? After the 10 absolute demon venerable escaped, several demon sovereign demon venerables who had hatred against him but were forced to surrender to him all caught up. Now, if the 10 absolute demon venerable can save a small life, it depends on the will of God, the devil world. The struggle is so brutal. They came out one after another to congratulate the Red Lotus Demon Venerable, and gave generous gifts, so that Red Lotus could send them even if there was something wrong. This battle and its results quickly spread in the demon realm, causing the demons who wanted to step on his fame to dispel their previous calculations. Most of the demons are aggressive and cruel, but it does not mean that they are willing to die. The Tenju Demon Venerable was defeated, and the Red Lotus Demon Venerable successfully took over his territory and power, and moved into the most luxurious palace on the Green Demon Peak. Su Chen thought that the palace he stayed in before was good enough. It turned out that it was not the best, only better. Take a look at the palace of the 10 absolute demon lords. You can see top quality materials and countless rare treasures everywhere. If you throw it out, you will call the demons outside to the head. There are many beautiful men and women in captivity in the palace. As a result, the Red Lotus demon venerable didn't even look at them, so he let a demon emperor who showed his loyalty and surrender to him send all these showy men and women away. He is not here. People who need such idle meals can stay unless they have a good skill. At the same time, they announced to all the magicians of Yumo Peak that the Poison Dragon Demon King is their other master. Those people didn't say how envious and jealous Su Chen was. After Su Chen visited the palace, he was attracted by the large amount of archives in a side hall. It is impossible to get involved at all. It is better to study these materials and try to refine the magic pill as soon as possible. The Red Lotus Demon Venerable doesn't care, let the magic cultivators who come to take refuge in it take care of it, and only let them collect more alchemy materials, and those magic cultivators know that the other master is the alchemist. The magic alchemist is in the devil world. It is also very popular, so it seems that the little white face is not worthy of their Lord Mojun. When Su Chen wasted a lot of materials, and finally the furnace magic pill was successfully released, the old Red Lotus also made progress. Thanks to Shija Demon Venerable's expansion of such a large power, his minions have spread to many places in the demon world, so after sorting out the intelligence materials sent in the past, the old Red Lotus demon can capture key clues from it. You said that the 10 absolute demon venerables also have a share, Su Chen said in shock. The first reaction in his mind was that the little monk was hitting right. These 10 absolute demon venerables were beaten not wrongly, no, they should continue to beat them hard. Until it is crippled and killed. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 507. Old Demon Red Lotus and Su Chen thought the same, regretting that he didn't completely destroy the 10 great demon venerables. If he had known earlier that he was involved in this matter, he would have made more arrangements before killing him. At that time, those demon venerables hid behind to watch the battle, and he had to leave some spare power to prevent these guys from taking advantage of the fire, which also gave the guy from Shiju a chance to escape. Don't worry, I have already asked them to find out the whereabouts of the 10 musts, and with this clue, you can follow the clues, and I believe you can pull out a bunch of tails. Su Chen played with the magic pill in his hand. This was done with the help of the magic weapon the little monk found for him, because he only had aura in his body, but the magic pill needed magic energy, and the function of this magic weapon was to instill demonic energy is an extremely important part of alchemy. Looking at this magic pill, I thought of Guyao and the others in the spiritual world, and said with a smile, I don't know how Guyao and the others are, this guy must be very interested in the refining of magic pills, and he must be hanged after returning home. Appetite. With this beginning, the magic pill in Su Chen's hand erupted like a well. At first, the magic cultivator of Kingmo Peak tried the magic pill he made with the idea of pleasing the devil's wife. After arriving at the magic pill and experiencing the quality of the magic pill, a frenzy of touting Su Chen was immediately set off on the Kingmo Peak. Although Mrs. Demon Zun is a demon king, what happened? How many demon kings in this demon world can become alchemists? It can also refine high-grade or even top-grade magic pills, and let other forces know that they must not envy them. Originally, Mojun asked them to collect materials and send them to the palace. They only thought that Su Chen was very good at seducing Mojun, and they tried to make him happy. How could they think that Su Chen was actually a real material, and his alchemy technique the level is not very high? So every time Su Chen came out with an elixir, the top and bottom of Kingmo Peak scrambled to buy the magic stones they had accumulated, and they were proud to buy the elixir. As the level of magic pills refined by Su Chen is getting higher and higher, the 5th grade, 4th grade, and even 3rd grade, I heard that even the materials for the 2nd grade magic pills are sent to the main hall. No wonder the Red Lotus Demon Venerable, who has never been close to the beauty, made an exception for this person. They saved others by themselves, and felt that the Red Lotus Demon Venerable only took a fancy to him because of Su Chen's alchemy skills, which was equivalent to keeping him by their side. With such an alchemist with superb alchemy skills joining in, the power of Kingmo Peak will quickly expand, and if one of the top 10 demons is taken away, the Red Lotus Demon Venerable in exchange is not necessarily less than the top 10. For some reason, some demon venerables felt a touch of remorse in their hearts. Maybe it wasn't necessarily a bad thing to let the Tenju continue to stay. They were too impatient and should have waited for a while longer. It's just that they don't know, and the worst is still to come. The Red Lotus Demon Venerable returned to the Devil World, not for the interests of the Devil World, but to dismantle the platform for the interests of the Devil World. As soon as they turned around, they found that some force was being attacked. Unknown people smashed it overnight, and it was impossible to find out who did it from the scene. They only knew that the comers were strong enough, and most of the demons were killed in one blow. The forces under these demon venerables were affected, and soon they had no energy to pay attention to Yumo Peak, and were busy cleaning up their own backyards, which made Red Lotus Demon Venerable and Su Chen more and more sure that they were not interested in the spiritual world. The plan was by no means the work of one of Shiju. Although these demon venerables did not directly participate, they also let the following people intervene. In his opinion, the current situation in this demon world is that there are fewer disputes, which will make these guys have nothing to do and want to stretch their hands to other places. In this case, let them be busy first. There are too few disputes. Make more. The chaos below has already started, but the demon venerables are taking care of their own backyards. The chaos has not attracted their attention, but when they find out that something is wrong, can the situation be under their control? Su Chen listened to the gossip brought back by the little monk while refining the magic pill. He knew that when he was concocting the pill, the little monk's body had slipped out of the Blue Devil Peak and ran outside to fan the flames. His avatar. Actually, Shiju was launched by them, the thugs and Pathfinder stones that came to the front desk, but later they found that Shiju's ambition was so great that they were almost unable to control or even attack themselves, because Shiju wanted to catch them all at once, unify the entire demon world, and then the next step is the spiritual world. Su Chen gasped when he heard it. Fortunately, he didn't succeed, otherwise let him integrate the demon world and attack the spiritual world, wouldn't the spiritual world be bad? The unprepared spiritual world will definitely be defeated on a large scale. You can see from the situation in the Anzo. The biggest feature of demonic energy is that it can erode the spiritual energy. Wherever the demonic energy passes, there will be no spiritual energy. The living space will be greatly compressed, and I am afraid that even ascension will be a problem. The Red Lotus Demon Venerable touched his chin and said, not all demon venerables support the Shiju crossing the border. After all, the demon realm is big enough, and the resources are not enough to support it, but they turn a blind eye to Shiju's behavior. One eye. He was worried that his secret actions would be detected by these few. After all, it was easier to see clearly when he was outside. But it doesn't matter anymore. I found out that the demons of the demon world can cross the border, but he is not allowed to visit the demon world as a monk in the spiritual world. The situation became more and more chaotic. In the end, even King Mo Feng couldn't stay out of the matter and was involved in it. The Red Lotus Demon Venerable also let go of the demon cultivators below to fight and Su Chen's magic pill sold even more. Well, in addition to robbing property, the demons who went out to kill will also bring back those collections of alchemy techniques to Su Chen, making Su Chen happy. Red Lotus, you should stop. One day, the demon venerable in grey clothes suddenly appeared on the top of the green demon peak, and said coldly to the Red Lotus Demon Venerable in black robes. The Red Lotus Demon Venerable smiled slightly. The one who came here was a Demon Venerable who cultivated to the level of Demon Venerable. Find him and find him, the target is so accurate. Since Tianxia Demon Venerable can find the deity here, don't you understand the reason? You can let the deity stop, and you can achieve the purpose of the deity. The Tianxia demon venerable should know how to communicate with respect. The grey-robed demon venerable's pupils shrank, and as he guessed, this red lotus is not a member of the devil world at all, so he can stir up the storm in the devil world without any scruples. I don't know where the red lotus came from, but it's nothing more than those places. You know that the more chaotic the devil world is, the more unfavorable it is for other worlds. The chaos of war will continue, and sooner or later, the disaster of war will be brought to other worlds. Those idiots don't know now, it doesn't mean they will continue to be stupid. When they find out that you are manipulating Red Lotus, what do you think they will do? The grey-clothed demon venerable doesn't think there is a secret that will never be discovered. Going down, the identity of Red Lotus will be exposed sooner or later. What does demon venerable Sha mean that day? Red Lotus squinted and asked. His original intention was to set fire in the backyard of the demon realm. It was not as serious as what demon venerable Grey thought. The reason was nothing more than what demon venerable Grey said. It is really bad for the spiritual world to make too much noise. He just let these guys ignore the spiritual world. The grey-robed demon venerable said with his hands behind his back, this deity is here to tell Red Lotus about the possible whereabouts of your Shiju, and there is a high possibility that he has escaped to the spiritual world. Guessing that Honglian is not a person from the demon world, and walking around the junction, it is not difficult to deduce where he came from. This matter is indeed wrong in the demon world, so he only asked Honglian to stop, not to ask guilt. Although Red Lotus was not born in the demon realm, apart from where he was born, he was a complete demon cultivator, not to mention that his Red Lotus karmic fire came from the depths of the black demon realm. Although I don't know why he fell into that place, the demon realm. Many people in the group had the idea of Red Lotus karma, but they never came back. In the end, it fell into the hands of a spiritual world cultivator. It has to be said that it is a big joke to the people in the demon world. This guy, Honglian, has a lot of luck against the sky, and there is such a person in the spiritual world, so he should not be an enemy. The breath of the Red Lotus demon soared, and his eyes flashed fiercely. Is this true? This is what the deity found. You can take a look at Red Lotus. The grey-robed demon venerable threw a ball of light, and Red Lotus read everything in it with a single thought. The grey-robed demon venerable came to a stronghold, and from that stronghold, he found out what Red Lotus had been looking for but failed to obtain. According to the analysis of the clues inside, it is indeed very possible that this guy from Shiju went to the spiritual world. This guy didn't want to take revenge because he learned the identity of Red Lotus, but he wanted to go dormant in the spiritual world for a while, and then return to the demon world when his strength recovered. Red Lotus stretched out her hand and squeezed the ball of light. He'd better ask for more blessings and don't fall into the hands of this deity. Anyway, I'll have to trouble the devil to end the affairs of the demon world, and put a few other ambitious guys behind bars. Otherwise, they will go to the upper realm, and the deity will be able to kill them. After the Red Lotus demon venerable finished speaking, he wrapped Su Chen and turned into a red light and fled away, leaving a sentence before leaving, take care of the poisonous dragon for the deity, and I will find it in the future. A black spot flew towards the grey-clothed demon venerable in the opposite direction of the red light. The grey-clothed demon venerable's grapefruit flew up, and the speed of the black spot dropped. It was the poisonous dragon who was thrown into a daze. This guy opened his mouth and sprayed poisonous flames, but then the grey-robed demon venerable flicked his sleeve, and the poisonous dragon hit the ground like a stone, and was unable to move. The grey-clothed demon venerable flicked his finger. Be honest, your master has left you behind. If you want to be reunited with him as soon as possible, you should try your best to cultivate and ascend to the upper realm as soon as possible, and then you will see him during this time. He reluctantly raised. Keep it up. The poisonous dragon, whose body could not move, could only stare at the man in grey with his two eyes. What did he say? It doesn't understand. It's easy to be chaotic, but it's not easy to stop. The gray-clothed demon venerable went to find the red lotus demon venerable. Many demon venerables knew about it. After they calmed down a little, it was not difficult for them to guess the reason, and they were so angry. Cursing the bastard, Red Lotus, the thing they regret most is that they led the Tushiju. But even if they guessed that the Red Lotus demon venerable was not a member of the devil world, the news must not spread, and they would not be ashamed to call an outside cultivator over their heads. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 508. If you want to ask who is the most popular cultivator in Bizhu of the spiritual world, everyone can answer, that is Guyao, and who is the least welcome to each sword sect. This question makes the disciples of each sword sect ask it's more difficult to answer. Of course, the focus of the conflict is on this guy Chi Changjai. When Chi Changjai comes, it means that Guyao will also follow. Guyao can bring great benefits to the sword sect, but this guy Chi Changjai hates it. He and this guy Yan Yuanjing have been competing with the disciples of the faction all day long. No, they want to leave only Guyao and send the two guys Chi Changjai and Yan Yuanjing away. Unfortunately, the world is difficult. If you want Guyao to stay in their sword sect, you must accompany Chi Changjai and Yan Yuan. Respect these two practicing swords. The high-level officials of the various sword factions welcomed this practice very much. Whether it was the medicinal pill brought by Guyao, or the arrival of Chi Changjai and Yan Yuanjing, the disciples in the faction were encouraged to be more diligent, and it was a good thing for them. Nowadays, the atmosphere of each sword school is more and more positive, and the time devoted to sword training and cultivation is increasing. Many disciples are envious and jealous of Chi Changjai, so they push the disciples with outstanding appearance and bearing to go out and turn around in front of Guyao from time to time. Even these disciples deeply feel that they have a heavy responsibility and show their best attitude. Going for a few laps in front of Guyao, Sima Zhao's heart is known to everyone, and he clearly wants to dig the corner of Chi Changjai's wall. Some people lobbied, Gu alchemist travels around with Daiochi, it is too dangerous, it is better to join our sword sect. Whoever dares to bully Gu alchemist, all our sword cultivators will be dispatched together, one by one and one sword. Kill them. If you want to talk about the monks in the states of the spiritual world, the sword cultivators in our northern state are the strongest in combat, and the disciples of our sword sect are also the most united. In the future, no matter where the ancient alchemist wants to go, the two sword cultivators will swipe the ground in unison. Alchemist Gu is the of the escort, and there must be a row of faces, and it must be majestic and majestic. Guyao was made to laugh and cry by these endless methods. As a result, the more happy these monks were, the more miserable they were when they were caught by Chi Changjai. They paid it off once or twice. To provoke Guyao, just wait for Chi Changjai's sword. This guy is domineering to his Taoist companion. In such a pleasant atmosphere, a few years passed without knowing it. Guyao and Yan Yuanjing, except on the road, were in various sword sects, so that their enemies could not be found. Opportunity to deal with them, can only watch them happily in various sword schools, and their popularity in Bizhu is getting higher and higher. This made those who secretly peeped at Guyao to realize that compared with Su Chen back then, Guyao, an alchemist, was much more difficult to deal with. In the past, they did not pay attention to the sword cultivator Chi Changjai, but now they find out that Yi is this Jianji who has become a bridge between Guyao and the various sword sects in Bizhu. At the beginning, Su Chen was not alone, but the monk Liaxu was trapped by the Buddhist sect, and almost no one stood up to help them. In the end, they were forced to end like that. Now they have changed to Guyao, and they have found the original that set doesn't work at all. All they can do now is to wait for them to leave Bizhu by themselves. Those sword cultivators in Bizhu are hard bones, and they are very difficult to chew. After visiting the various sword factions, the three of Guyao quietly returned to Yuanguang City. The people who stayed here to take care of the peaks and shops were very welcome. In recent years, the opening hours of the shops have been much more regular than before. The door is opened every 10 days, so Yuanguang City is only more prosperous. All the monks hope that Guyao will completely settle his home here. Although they didn't come back with any news, they were still followed by a number of sword cultivators. Guyao and the others, who were talking to their uncle and Zhou, found that Xia Yuan's, Lai Hu and others were here, and they couldn't help but be surprised. What are they doing here at this time? Is the pill already used up? Not so fast. Knowing that you are going to Lingzhou, we will come to you. Xia Yuan's quickly explained their purpose. Lai Hu snorted, you guy actually stole my words. Yes, this guy is right, think about it, when you enter Lingzhou, there are sword repairers like us who will open the way for you, Dora Feng. It's just that I'm a little tired of staying in Bizhu, so let's go to Lingzhou for a walk. Guyao and Yinhua looked at each other, and then Guyao's eyes curled with laughter, pulling the wind, really pulling the wind, and some alchemists in Lingzhou saw this battle, they were afraid that their mouths would be crooked. Qi Changjai also made friendship with them, raised the corners of his mouth and said, okay, then I'll have to trouble you. Haha, who are we with whom, brothers who died, this matter is covered by us. Lai Hu's chest slapped loudly, and the sword cultivators who came with him responded. At this moment, Guyao felt that these sword cultivators were very cute. Thinking of such a windy scene, he couldn't wait to show up in Lingzhou to see the surprised scenes of the alchemists. After a little preparation, they are about to set off. Although Yinhua wants to follow the past, whether he wants to see the liveliness of Lingzhou or to support his nephew, he also knows that with the current strength of him and Zhou, the past will also hold back his nephew, so they still stay in the north. State. In Yuanguang City, senior brother Zhou Lang also stayed and continued to manage the shop and sell the medicinal pills left by Guyao. Not long after, Guyao and Qi Changjai were surrounded by these sword cultivators and left Bizhu and headed for Lingzhou. The other sword cultivators who came a step late found out that the person had already left, and they were deeply regretful, and they beat their chests and feet with regret. Either they were a little slow in their response, and the opportunity had flowed away from their eyes, especially when they first proposed swipe the two swords in unison. Jianqiu, who is Xiu escorting Guyao, is even more remorseful. Xia Yuan's and these guys are too bullying, and they haven't even paid the royalties, so they have to use the battle array he proposed. Damn, these guys had better not go back to Bizhu, otherwise, let them know how jealous the other sword cultivators in Bizhu are towards them, and have to beat them beyond recognition. The chaos in Anzhou has become a thing of the past, and now all the states in the spiritual world have turned their attention to Lingzhou, and many monks have set off for Lingzhou, preparing to witness the grand events of Lingzhou in person. All parts of Lingzhou are also decorated with flowers, and monks from various states are welcome. Fatty and Tianfirong were nibbling on the spiritual fruit while looking at the sky. A fleet of aircraft flew over it. This has been the case for the past few days. You can imagine how many monks will come to Lingzhou. Fatty said, this is not right. In the past, the factions in Lingzhou were not so generous. They invited guests from all over the world to participate in local events. This time, it suddenly happened, and I always felt that there was a big conspiracy behind it. Tianfirong nodded and said, yes, maybe it's aimed at Guyao. You said, Fatty, Guyao and brother Qi are also on the way at this time. Fatty was excited and worried, yes, they are not the ones who flinch, and Guyao's reputation spreads throughout the spiritual world. Now I don't know how many eyes are looking at Guyao, he can't help but come. If Guyao didn't come, these cultivators would definitely think that Guyao was in stage fright. In the future, everyone can't say that the alchemist in Lingzhou is inferior to Guyao. When the two were about to leave, they met a few cultivators head-on. Walking in the middle was a lovely-looking female cultivator, and next to them were the envoys of the flowers. As soon as they saw Fatty and Tianfirong, their eyes changed. Gotta be sarcastic. Look who this is, isn't it the two guys who made a mistake and were expelled from Lingzi Garden, but they still have the face to stay here. It was me who left Lingzhou earlier, so as not to embarrass Lingzhou. Tianfirong looked at them disdainfully with his arms in his arms. Why, you drove this road? This Lingzhou is your home? Thinking this is Lingzi Garden, you can do whatever you want? I don't know who is embarrassing in front of the monks from other states. You, the monks who yelled at Fatty and the others were furious, but unfortunately they couldn't do it on the street, otherwise they would have to. Nice. Okay, is this something more powerful than someone's mouth? Don't talk too much with the two wastes. It's important that we accompany Tong Tong to observe the alchemy Kigsu. When Tong Tong worships in the sect, these two wastes will be gone. Don't even think about toads eating swan meat. Tong Tong, let's go. Brother Zhang, don't say that, I still don't know if I can enter those sections, Tong Tong said shyly. Big Brother Zhang said with great confidence, I believe Big Brother Zhang. Tong Tong, you can definitely do it. Tong Tong gave Fatty and Tianfirong an apologetic smile, turned around and left with the others. The people left, and the chatter came. I heard that Gu Yao, who made a big splash in Bizhu, will also come to our Lingzhou. Tong Tong will also have the opportunity to see his alchemy skills. Let's see if he has a fake name. Don't say that, Gu alchemist must have real ability to spread such a reputation. Cut. That's because he didn't come to Lingzhou to see. Any alchemist in our Lingzhou can beat those guys outside. Defeat. The voice got farther and farther, and the fat man and Tianfirong both had goosebumps on the ground, disgusting them to death. There's something wrong with these people. What did the girl surnamed Du come to do for us? But kicking us out of Lingzi Garden is a good thing for them. After they were done, these guys thought they had nowhere to go after leaving Lingzi Garden, which really made them worry about nothing. Fatty retracted his gaze and said, it's a shame that they also deserve Gu Yao's alchemy. But you have to be careful about that girl. You always think it's weird for her to approach you. Don't forget your situation. Tianfirong said with affection, those guys are stupid enough to be played around by a girl. I really thought that girl was as timid and helpless as she appeared on the surface, innocent and pitiful, and she was a spiritual cultivator anyway. When this girl approached them under the banner of asking for help, Tianfirong became vigilant. They climbed up from Tianlin continent step by step. No matter how weak they are, can they still be weaker than the chi-refining cultivators on Tianlin continent? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 509. Fatty and Tianfirong returned to a shop called Jin Shixuan. The cultivators who mocked them before would never have imagined that the two who were regarded as waste by them had been operating secretly when they were still in Lingzi Garden. This Jin Shixuan left the Lingzi Garden and returned here more above board. Although the location of the shop is not very conspicuous, it has a good reputation among the middle and bottom monks in Lingzhou. When the two got used to the life in Lingzhou, they began to think about ways to make money. It is aimed at spiritual planters and farming businesses that are common in Lingzhou. The two did not trap themselves in the old frame, and boldly introduced new ones. The newly developed array plates and instruments not only reduced the consumption of the spiritual planter themselves, but also greatly improved the work efficiency. With the help of these array plates and instruments, a spiritual on the basis of the original management scope, the planter can increase the number of spiritual fields, and the more land you plant, the more you will harvest. Later, I got some opportunities and met a good partner, otherwise their Jinshixuan would have to be swallowed up by other big businesses. The staff in the store also went out to watch the fun. As the natives of Lingzhou, they are very proud. This event has welcomed visitors from all over the world. They like to hold their heads high when they walk on the street. Of course, the highest status in Lingzhou belongs to the alchemists of all levels. The first-grade alchemists are naturally located at the top of the pyramid. Almost every cultivator family is eagerly looking forward to having an alchemist among their children and grandchildren and worshipping them. In the sect, no matter how high the entry threshold is, it cannot stop their determination. Once they can enter, the status of the entire family will rise rapidly. The alchemist is the first choice, followed by the spiritual planter. If you can't become an alchemist, then honestly cultivate the land and cultivate spiritual grass for the alchemist. Perhaps because of the special aura and geographical conditions of Lingzhou, there are many monks with wood spiritual roots, so the cultivation of spiritual plants has been carried out vigorously. Boss, I heard that the ancient alchemist in Bazhu is here with his Taoist companion, and they will pass by us soon. Come out and watch the fun. A young guy jumped in. Since ancient times, Lingzhou has mentioned a lot of his cultivators, so Fatty and Tianfirong did not evade, and occasionally showed interest, so as soon as he got the news, the little guy couldn't wait to come back to inform the two bosses. Really? Then hurry out, Fatty, hurry up. Tianfirong ran out. Coming. Because he has not hidden his identity since he entered Lingzhou, and because the team is composed of sword cultivators of the same color, the places they pass along the way are indeed very windy, and it is impossible not to attract the attention of others. In other words, high profile, this trip is the highest profile. Therefore, before they entered the sub-city of the main city where Fatty and the others were located, the news had already passed. The curious people couldn't wait to see the true face of this ancient alchemist. Now most of the Lingzhou still think that the ancient it is a rumor that Yao and alchemist Su defeated the alchemist in Lingzhou. In the minds of the natives of Lingzhou, all alchemists outside Lingzhou were unqualified. Better than Lingzhou alchemist? In the dream, the indigenous people are the self-confidence. As soon as they came outside, the news spread quickly, and wherever Fatty and Tianfirong passed, they could hear everyone's talk about Gu Yao. Just the guy who boasted that he defeated the alchemist of Lingyunlu is coming? Humph, I want to see if he has 3 heads and 6 arms. Lingyunlu is a first-class alchemy force in our Lingzhou. Yes, this guy has been shrinking in Bazhu all these years, it's no wonder. What if we Lingzhou people don't know the situation in Bazhu? Can there be a good alchemist in the place where there are all fighting lunatics? Why don't you go to an alchemist now and don't hurry up and confess him? But shit, this kind of alchemist came to our Lingzhou, not to mention being famous, and he didn't even have a chance to get ahead. If I say, let them come. Only when they come can they open their eyes. When our Lingzhou is that kind of rural place. Abba. Almost all they heard were questions and ridicules. Fatty and Tianfirong looked at each other helplessly. It was not the first time they had seen the excellent self-awareness of the indigenous people here. They are all rural areas, and Lingzhou is the place where the spiritual world is famous. The two of them have a feeling after listening to more. Fortunately, Lingzhou is located in the center of the spiritual world, and relying on alchemy for diplomacy, so there have been no major wars for thousands of years, so they are becoming more and more blind and arrogant. Match up with other states. For example, once there is an invasion of foreign enemies, Lingzhou will be the first to cross. The days that are too easy are actually not good. The monks are fighting against the sky and the earth. Come on, look at those dazzling sword lights in the sky. Despite the disdain in their mouths, everyone still raised their heads to look at the sky. Although there were other companions, their rays were all obscured by the sword light, and everyone saw only the extremely sharp and dazzling sword light. The speed of Jiangguang's escape was also extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he caught up with the aircraft in front of him, whistling and getting closer and closer. When he saw the sword cultivator wrapped in the sword ray, many cultivators muted their voices. The appearance of a person, whether male or female, is so different in spirit and spirit. It is the female sword cultivator, who is also heroic and valiant, showing a completely different style from the female cultivator in Lingzhou, attracting many male cultivators. The two cultivators who were surrounded by these sword cultivators stepped on a purple thunder dragon. Like the other sword cultivators, they glanced down lightly, then carried one hand behind their backs and continued towards the main city. In a blink of an eye, this team it whizzed past their sub-city. Mummy, these swordsmen are too domineering. They came to Lingzhou to smash the scene. The other teams who were robbed of the limelight were indignant. Don't tell me, these swordsmen are dispatched together, and the momentum is really big. If we had known, we should have hired some swordsmen to them, and all eyes were attracted. Can other sword cultivators compare to them? I don't even care what their identities are, but they are all the favored sons of the first and second-rate sword sects in Bezhu, and even the only direct disciple of the sword demon is among them. Only alchemist Yao can let them come out willingly to them, and they won't be birds if they change. Mighty. So majestic. Witnessing such a battle with our own eyes is enough for us to brag for years. The natives of Lingzhou are not very keen on sword cultivators. They are just a group of fighting lunatics. When they arrive in Lingzhou, they have to be soft. However, in the eyes of monks from other states, the status of sword cultivators is very special, whether it is amazing combat power or sword cultivator. The high cold demeanor is all aspirational. Pulling the wind all the way, Guyao looked back at the vice city behind him, and said, I seem to feel a familiar atmosphere in that city. Do you think it could be Fatty and Tian'erge? It has been a long time since I found my uncle, but there has been no news from Fatty and the others, especially since Zhang Jingfen now has more power to mobilize when he enters the general pavilion, but still can't find their whereabouts. Guyao is inevitably worried. Qi change. I thought it was possible, when you get to the place where you are staying, find someone to check it out. It is indeed possible that they are in Lingzhou. If they are here, they will definitely know that we are here, and they should find a way to see one. See you. Yes, Guyao's interest rose again after saying this. Guyao once thought about the way to come to Lingzhou, and felt that he would come quietly incognito, but he never thought of what it looks like now. But I have to say, it is really exciting. Anyway, everyone knows something, so why keep a low profile? All parties in Lingzhou were very unhappy about their high-profile trip. From their point of view, Guyao had achieved such an achievement at such a young age, and it was inevitable that he would get carried away and act arrogantly. There are also some people with extremely complicated moods, that is, individuals from Lingyun Building and alchemists who have dealt with Guyao in Anzhou before. To say that they welcome Guyao's arrival, perhaps only those who belong to the alchemy pavilion. Xiang Yudan, because in Anzhou, he learned a lot about Guyao from Guyao, and he did not secretly exchange alchemy with each other. Whether it is Guyao's alchemy or his character, Xiang Yudan felt that these were monks worthy of his respect. Xiang Yudan got close to Guyao in Anzhou, and after returning to Lingzhou, he was also spread by his peers. The other disciples of Pil Pavilion were very annoyed by Xiang Yudan's behavior. His behavior was equivalent to betraying Pil Pavilion. It's not that there is an elder Xiang behind him as a backer, and his behavior can be expelled from the Pil Pavilion. Our Pil Pavilion is the authentic force founded by Pil Immortals. If it wasn't for a traitor from our Pil Pavilion, where would other forces rise up, and why did his surname Gu learn such superb Pil techniques? It's not because of him. You stole something belonging to our Pil Pavilion from that person. How annoying that such a thief still has someone to associate with him willingly. It's not because they have elders as their backers, and they have everything they want. How can we work so hard in alchemy in exchange for resources? The guy who eats inside and out, I don't think even Elder Xiang will be able to keep him sooner or later. Elder Xiang stopped his grandson, who wanted to visit when he knew where Guyao and his party were staying. Yudan, what do you think? You didn't hear the voices of condemnation in the cabinet, did you? Xiang Yudan is neither shocked nor annoyed. Grandfather, I am not afraid of shadows, I have a clear conscience. Even if the other party is coming to our pill pavilion, with him or without me, you still have to continue to communicate with the ancient alchemist, Elder Xiang said sternly. Grandfather? Xiang Yudan's voice weakened, and he said for a while, what happened in the first place? Is there no way to reconcile? As an alchemist, he doesn't like fighting, and the same is true for Xiang Yudan. He thinks, why can't everyone sit down and have a good discussion? Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 510. You, Elder Xiang sighed, you have experienced too little and thought things too simplistically. If you could reconcile, you wouldn't get to where you are today. This is a dead end. Yudan, you also underestimate the desire of the cultivator, even the alchemist can't escape. Forget it, you can go if you want. It's really honest. That person was the real pavilion master of the pill pavilion at the beginning, but these words should be kept in your heart and should not be publicized, otherwise your grandfather will not be able to protect you. Go, he waved to the elder. He bowed to Yudan, turned around and walked out. The words of his grandfather still echoed in his mind, that person is the real pavilion owner of the pill pavilion. In other words, it is the people who have stolen the pill pavilion today. If you want to talk about thieves, it is definitely not Alchemist Su and Alchemist Gu. Xiang Yudan sighed in his heart. He always felt that these intrigues were more incomprehensible than the most mysterious alchemy techniques. The main city of Lingzhou is called Dangxian City, and there are 6 sub-cities attached to Dangxian City, almost all of which are mainly based on planting. The title of the Holy Land of Alchemy Masters, Dan Xiancheng, can fully bear the title. The most alchemy masters in the spiritual world are gathered here, and the best alchemy masters in Lingzhou are also gathered here. This year's alchemy competition is different from the past. The gate of Dangxiankan is open, and all forces in the spiritual world are welcome to participate in the grand event, and alchemists from other states are also welcome to come and exchange alchemy techniques. Teachers can also participate in the alchemy competition, and they can show their skills in Dangxian City. Such an open attitude has indeed attracted the attention of the entire spiritual world, making Dangxian City more lively and prosperous. Among the cultivators who are highly sought after in other states, there will likely be one of them. The frequency of encounter is so high. Pill Immortal City has a place for all alchemists to rest and stay. It is a very high tower in the city. All alchemists from other states are proud to live here. Who still remembers the dark cloud brought to the Dan League by the Anzhou affair? Guyao and his party did not check into this tower, but checked into Dingxian Pavilion's Inn in Dangxian City. Zhang Jingfeng came to Dangxian City early for this event. Zhang Jingfeng also saw the pomp of Guyao and the others when they came over. He was also happy for Guyao and Qi Changjai. Since they were able to open up such a situation in Bizhu, it was no wonder they were reluctant to come out. With this group of sword cultivators opening the way for Guyao, who would dare to provoke them without a long eye? Don't look at the highest level of cultivation among them, but only fit together, but what really has energy is the power they represent. They are the first-class and second-class great sword sect in Bizhu. To dare to attack them is equivalent to declaring war on the sect behind them. I've finally met you. After many years of separation, your cultivation progress is much faster than Zhang and me. Seeing Guyao and the others, Zhang Jingfeng was ashamed. In this position, his energy is destined to be distracted by many trivial matters. He couldn't concentrate on his cultivation. This was called a gain and a loss, and now he also holds the resources that make countless people envy. Where, young Master Zhang is also very powerful now, Guyao said with a smile. Zhang Jingfeng laughed. Although he is majestic now, there are many thorns on the way. Without Guyao and Qi Changjai, there would be no Zhang Jingfeng today. You have also seen that Lingzhou is actually very xenophobic. If you go out, you will hear a lot of bad things about the ancient alchemist. Guyao raised his eyebrows. It's okay. Zhang Jingfeng is very good at being a man, so he invited Gu Yao, Qi Changjai and all the swordsmen to have a big meal, using the best ingredients that he could find, and the best spiritual chef. Even if he didn't enjoy practicing swords with one heart, these sword cultivators, who can't help but eat first as a respect, also have a better impression of Zhang Jingfeng, a person who likes to drill and do not practice well. After that, Gu Yao and Zhang Jingfeng talked about looking for Fatty and Tianfirong, narrowing the scope to Lingzhou, and focused on their specialties. One was good at formation, and the other was refining. In his and Qi Changjai's view, it's been a long time since they came to the spirit world, and the two of them will definitely make a living from it. Zhang Jingfeng felt vaguely familiar, but he wasn't sure. He said goodbye to Gu Yao and the others first, and then told Gu Yao and the others after he checked it out, so as not to make them happy. Over the years, Zhang Jingfeng has exhausted his means to operate in Lingzhou. After researching the situation in Lingzhou and even visiting it himself, he focused on various side businesses and did not interfere in the sale of medicinal herbs, which is the Lianlingko piece. He didn't get involved much, and only played side balls. After a few years, this strategy was very correct. It was this in and the result after he took over the affairs of Lingzhou. It was not easy to squeeze into Dangxian city before. Various industries are almost divided up by the major local sects. The steward in charge of Lingzhou affairs listened to Zhang Xiao's description, and his heart was also moved. Zhang Xiao is not talking about Jinshi Xian's two bosses. These two bosses are one who is good at formation and the other is good at refining. The items sold in Jinshi Xian are basically for those spiritual planters, and they are very popular with spiritual planters. Zhang Jingfeng patted his forehead. Yes, it sounds familiar to me. It's not just the two of them. Hurry up, transfer the details of the two of them, and let people see where the two bosses are now. Okay, subordinates will be transferred here. Coincidentally, Jinshixuan Yukiao is one of the partners that Dingxian Pavilion is looking for. Today, Dingxian Pavilion seems to have not developed much business in Lingzhou, but its tentacles have spread all over Lingzhou, but to the outside world. It's not in the name of Dingxian Pavilion. For example, this Jinshixuan, when Jinshixuan was suppressed by local forces and the supply of Lingxi could not be turned around, Zhang Jingfeng saw their business scope and felt that the prospects were good, so he pulled with them. Jinshixuan became a partner of Dingxian Pavilion. There are countless small industries like this. It can be said that if the Dan League is an enemy of Dingxian Pavilion, the Dingxian Pavilion can quietly move a piece of the foundation of the Dan League, causing great losses to the Dan League's medicinal herb industry, because the Dingxian Pavilion can be used as an enemy. Suange has been densely integrated into the entire industrial chain of the medicine pill industry, although it is only in the middle and lower levels of the inconspicuous. For example, if you move your hands and feet on the array plate and utensils, it is likely to cause the spiritual grass in the large spiritual field to appear. When Zhang Jingfeng checked the situation of the two bosses of Jinshixuan, the two bosses, after Gu Yao and his party passed through the sub-city, quickly packed their packages and headed to the main city. What are you waiting for? Brother Qi came, and quickly went to the door to meet each other. No matter how many friends I know here, I can't make friends. Only Gu Yao and Qi Changjai can give them the feeling of family. As soon as they left on the front foot, someone came to the door on the back foot. Tong Tong, you're right, how can those two trash be the bosses of Jinshixuan? They must be the guys here. They deliberately used their identities to deceive people, right? The cultivator who accompanied Du Tong Tong stood at the door. I dared to ask, and then the color of Yuyi appeared in his eyes. In the eyes of these flower protectors, those two lowly scumbags deliberately approached Du Tong Tong and wanted toads to eat swan meat. The Du family owns a large area of spiritual fields and is a local landowner. A piece of trash can't turn over? The two wastes dared to touch the fairy in their hearts. It was heinous, so they joined hands to frame Tianfirong and Fatty. Let them make mistakes, Not only punished but also expelled. They are destined to be unable to get up and can only look up to their two waists. How could they afford to open such a Jinshixuan? Du Tongtong's teeth lightly pursed his lips. I didn't lie to you. I saw that the guys in the store called them the boss. You all blamed them wrongly. We should ask them to apologize now. Tongtong. Several people were shocked. Du Tongtong stomped his feet. If you don't go, I'll go in by yourself. Then he lifted his foot and walked in. He was very coquettish and attracted attention. The few envoys in the back hated those two waists, but they had to following up. In their opinion, Tongtong has a good heart, and those two guys are extremely hateful. Brother Tian has left? Going to the main city, Du Tongtong's eyes widened, repeating the man's words. The guy nodded and said, yes, if you are friends of our boss, you should be able to contact our boss. Now the main city is so lively, the two bosses like to watch the fun, and of course they won't miss this opportunity. The attitude of the guys is natural, and they are very suspicious of their identities, saying that friends will not be able to contact the boss. You said those two waists are really your bosses? How many spirit stones did you collect from them and help them lie together? The messenger behind them jumped out. Seeing that the trouble was getting bigger, and some people questioned the identity of the boss, the shopkeeper came out. We Jinshixuan are not a small family. Do you think that spending a few spirit stones can make us pretend to be the boss? It's ridiculous. You all hurry up. We won't hold you accountable for slandering the boss, but don't stop us from doing business. Hurry up. The shopkeeper recognized the identities of these people, and they had a share in bullying the boss. In the shopkeeper's eyes, these guys were far worse than the two bosses. Du Tongtong's flower protector had no choice but to withdraw reluctantly. Du Tongtong looked back at the shop behind him, and a dark light flashed in his watery eyes, and he went to the main city. This is not easy to handle. She has to think of a way quickly, so she finds an excuse to go back in a hurry. It is Tian Firong and Fatty's fault in the eyes of the envoy. What did you say? Father Du stood up in shock when he heard his daughter's report. You said there was a strange fire on the monks who worked in our Du family before. Du Tongtong couldn't care less about acting weak, and said anxiously, Dad, you forgot my special physique. At first I thought that person had a very yang physique, but after testing it several times, I felt that it was more like someone with a strange fire. Dad, no matter what, you can't let them leave here and go to the main city. Dad, send someone to stop them. Father Du said, why didn't you tell your father about this earlier? Wouldn't you come back when you went to the main city? Didn't you say they opened a shop here? Dad, you don't think about how many capable people in the main city are different. I'm sure others will find out. Then we won't get anything. Oh, Dad, just listen to your daughter.